paycheck. Welcome to Signature Sales Meeting. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, pretty amazing weekend this last Saturday. Big congratulations to our own Brandon Roberts, the new president of LBR. Let's go, Brandon. That's right. That was the joke of the night. Everyone took advantage of it for sure. So, great week in real estate. We've seen a lot of great production from you guys and definitely a lot of amazing things going on. Let's start off with some wants and needs. Who has a new listing that they'd like to talk about? Adam.
Or an old one that hasn't sold yet.
Same condo. It's available. They've had a $100 price reduction. Definitely check it out.
New air conditioning.
New air conditioning units. I saw that.
I have a condo coming up. It's 10 occupied for about 9 more months. It's going to be for 215 Silverado Ranch.
Nice.
Address is at 2300 Silverado Ranch.
Very cool. 215?
2 bedroom. Yeah.
Nice.
Hello. Have a couple listings. One coming on the market at the end of next week in Green Valley. It's a townhome, 300,000, 1,234 square feet, 2-bed, 3-bath with attached garage. Anthem Highlands, single story, 1,928 square feet, 3 beds, 2 full baths, 445,000. And one listing up in Providence, single story, gated, 4 beds, 3 baths, 2,544 square feet, 600,000.
Very nice. Wow.
Hi, I have one Sun City Summerlin single-story listing, 449, 2 bedrooms, very gently lived in, and dated, but it's perfect. And one in Popoli Rancho will be live today, 429, 1,900 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 full baths, large lot.
Very cool. Sorry,
Hi, I have taking a listing on Friday for a single story, 1 story, let me look at the numbers here. 1,238 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's near Gowan and between Durango and Campbell, kind of. Anyway, it has been appraised for 340.
You're going on 300?
I haven't taken a listen yet. It's what the seller wants to do on Friday.
Very cool. Nice. Anybody else that I missed? Any buyer needs?
Going? Oh.
For me, for him.
All right, I'm looking for an Airbnb-able property for myself.
Okay.
Where I can stay when I'm here. Owner financing preferable.
Very cool. Price point?
One? I don't.
He doesn't care. He's open-ended. Checkbooks in.
Widely
Huh?
impossible. Anything widely impossible to find?
Did I miss anybody on their wants and needs? Anything at all before I go?
Owner finance.
Nope. Okay, great. All right, so we have some announcements that I need to go over. First off, we have post-licensing coming next week by Zoom. So if you want to have a good time for an entire week, let Lois know or sign up at the school. If you have any brand new agents that haven't completed it, that's here. And you know the best part for signature agents? It's free 99. Free 99. You'll love that one. Free 99. Okay, so next up we have Tony with Prosperity. Tony, tell us all about it. Tony looked very dapper at the installation in his tuxedo.
Yes, he did.
It's all for you, Chris.
I know.
He almost had a little change of wanders.
So I have to say something.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Just to offer my congratulations as well to Brandon, President-elect. Can we say that? President of 2022. Chris, being on the board, and my old pal Ellie, where is he? Being on the board as well, Ellie Morris. So, great night, good times. Couple of things. I'd like to talk about the market, what's going on right now, what we can expect in 2022. I know that Todd had done a presentation a week or 2 back about planning for the new year, business strategy, etc., etc. A couple of articles I've been able to dig out, and very recent. I'll be more than happy to forward them to anybody, but this one speaks more to the national market, and I'll talk a little bit about what's going on here in Vegas. Okay, contract signings comparing 2021 to 2020 unexpectedly fell in September alone. They fell by 2.3% compared with August, as purchases declined all across the country. Each of the 4 major regions saw contract activity decline month over month and year over year. Okay? And that came directly from the NER, by the way. Analysts had forecast a 1% rise from August to September, so the drop came as quite a shock to those who monitor these kind of stats, these numbers. High prices may be deterring purchases. Prices are up nearly 20% compared to a year ago. Far outpacing wage gains, as probably most of us are aware. Mortgage rates were higher in September than they were a year ago, so that's a double hit, if you will, to affordability. Some potential buyers, it would appear, have paused their home search with intentions to resume again in 2022. I think we're all experiencing at least some aspect of that. Home sales have declined 3 out of the past 4 years, reflecting the strain on affordability from high prices and low inventory levels. We know all about that, obviously, in Vegas as well. New home builders have struggled to keep up with demand due to high price of materials, supply chain disruptions, and shortages of workers. Again, there's been a fair amount of information out there recently on any or all of those specific aspects which are impacting new home builds. Okay, as far as our market is concerned, as far as what we're seeing here, and again, I do have the full article here. It's pretty extensive. It came from my buddy over there, Ellie, but there's a lot of good information in here. You may be aware of some of this already, but I'm only going to go over the major points, and then by all means we can expand on any of those, or I forward the full article to you so you can review it yourself. Population growth. Obviously, newcomers to Clark County, California in particular. 40% of the newcomers to Clark County, guess where they're from? California, okay? 2 in 5. I mean, and they bring a lot of cash with them, as we know. Nevada is the 9th most popular state nationally for retirees, and 2 of the top 5 destinations are Henderson and Paradise, Nevada, okay? Employment growth, 3rd highest nationally year on year through July. New home market, we've sold almost 11,000 new homes in 2021. And if you go back, the median home price, by the way, on those homes is $417K. So clearly, again, no secret, but our values are going up. 5 of the top 25 selling master plan communities are also in Nevada. And that's the top 25 nationally, by the way. Vacant land sales, price per acre, $516K, $516,000, higher than in previous years. Resale homes, up any year since 2008, at almost 39,000 based on the trailing 12 months. Condos and townhomes also up at almost 10,000 for the year. Couple of other things. Median home sales price $405 and $229 for condos. $405 obviously for single family residences. Appreciation rates of more than 20% year on year. I mean, obviously not sustainable, but that's what we're all seeing right now. Okay. Average price per square foot, I know this is always a big one with the realtors, $233.82 in 2021, up from $203 in 2020 and $174.22 in 2019. So in 2 years, again, someone much smarter than me can crunch this, and I'm a lender, believe it or not. Our average price per foot, square foot that is, has gone from $174 to $234 almost. That's crazy. Again, and clearly not sustainable, but it begs the question, you know, where are we going from here? Interest rates, 30-year interest rates, averaging 2.9% in 2021. That's been on a downward trend since mid-2018, and average rates were at 8%, by the way, in 2000 and 2001. I know that was a generation ago, but certainly some of the younger people have never experienced rates like they were before. And I think if you're of a certain vintage, you know what I'm talking about. Just a couple other things. Home sale, cash buyers, home sales. 32% of all properties, Southern Nevada, gone to cash buyers. That's 1 in 3. Obviously making it harder to get someone who's pre-qualified into that same property. Cash is king, as we know. What I find from my experience is that people will latch onto one aspect of the market and then they'll seek out other information or other individuals that will reinforce that. That's just, I think we're all guilty of that from time to time, whether it be interest rates or inventory levels are low, values are going too high, my FICO, my credit, you name it. I think we've all been there. I know I've experienced that. Clearly, affordability and supply is a major issue. Meaning buyers will have a relative or close friend be added onto the loan so that we can show sufficient income and they can qualify for the loan. That's fine, but it comes with its own set of issues down the road. Do we hold on to the property? Do we sell? Do we rent? Do we access the equity? Do we pull cash out? Obviously, depending on who's on the title to the property, that can lead to issues. I know it's not, we still put that transaction through if we can get it through, but they still buy if that's the property they want. But it's not all sweetness and light, obviously, after that. Okay? One other thing I would say is interest rates. And I call interest rates the great seducer, I call them. Okay? I think Chris agrees with me. Sure. But maybe he would use different terminology. But anyway. Currently, the medium home price with 5% down would mean a loan of almost $385,000. Okay? With a 680 FICO score, so average FICO score, the rate on a conventional loan, you're looking at 3.375. Principal and interest, 1701. At a rate of 3 1/8, so just an eighth of a point less, monthly payment, 1674. That's a difference of, well, do the math, $27 a month. I mean, ridiculous. But people get tied into rate. Jason's laughing, he knows what I'm talking about. People get tied into rate. And by the way, with that 3.25 rate, there's a cost associated with that of $1,854.
That's good stuff.
Okay? So you do, again, 69 months, if my numbers are correct, just to break even by going with the lower rate. It's crazy math, but those are the kind of issues that when it comes to interest rates. Okay? I would avoid them like the plague. Yes, I have to produce interest rates. Yes, we have to produce competitive numbers in terms of fees, but sometimes it can you can put yourself in a bind. That number sticks in the mind, and there's just no escaping that. So anyway, I know we all have our own resources for information. I think these two articles, especially the one that my buddy provided me, Ellie, is very comprehensive, and hopefully it gives an idea or a platform where we're headed. One gentleman that contacted me about a week ago, right out of the blue, never met him, he was a referral. But he realized that for him to have his offer accepted, he was going to need to get creative. He paid cash. Now, I won't tell you the value of the property, but it was more than I can afford, let's put it that way. So he contacted me, wants to do a refinance now, pulled the cash out, $400,000. But clearly, he got his offer accepted based on that. Now, not everybody has $560,000 kicking around in the bank to offer, but what I'm saying is...
Hey, Tony, it's only an hour meeting.
You've got to get creative with this stuff, that's my point, okay? Sorry, Tom.
Give it up for Tony! Hope you enjoyed the meeting. Thanks so much for coming. We'll see you next week. Tony, thank you so much. The important thing here is the numbers are important from every spectrum of our business, and if you're not paying attention to them, you should be. And the thing I love about these articles that Tony shared is you're becoming the source of the info versus you giving the bad news yourself and the client. As you notice, this is another one of our famous broker pulpery panels, but before we start with these guys, there's a topic in the marketplace that I've been getting a lot of questions about. And we're going to put our new president on blast a little bit, not really. Anyone here that they're going to raise dues?
Absolutely.
Anyone here getting out of the business because of it?
I'm shocked and amazed.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of dues history, and I'm going to throw myself under the bus because not many people know this. So do you know there are multiple sets of dues that you pay in one fee to Las Vegas Realtors? Did you know that? Now you do. So you pay national dues at about $180 a year. You pay state dues at about $220 a year. That's a lot of money, I know. And you pay local dues at $240 now a year. And the whole point of it is they haven't raised the local dues in almost 27 years. The last time they did any type of dues increase was when? 2018, when I was president. But it wasn't a dues increase, it was an MLS fee increase. And if you guys have looked at your MLS fee bills lately, you're paying $300 every 6 months for your MLS service. It used to be $300 total. And the reason why it was $300 to begin with was a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, we used to have a contract with Realtor.com that provided that every single lead that Realtor.com provided in our marketplace went primarily to the listing agent. And we had to pay $1 million for that contract. And it started in 2007 at the Board of Realtors, and so we raised the MLS dues to cover the cost of the $1 million. And I think during that time frame, a lot of people saw a tremendous value in the fact that I list a house, it goes on Realtor.com, and I was getting those leads. And people were closing transactions. It was a great service. And then, of course, all of the other services we provide, the document systems, the form systems, the new public-facing website in Phase 38. I mean, all of these things together have caused the fees to increase. And we made kind of a stipulation that we weren't going to really affect you guys if we could move the funds around. Well, they couldn't move the funds around any further. And so they came up with a $3.33 a month dues increase, and it literally sent everyone's head on fire. I've been seeing things on Facebook that are like, oh my God, take away the installations, it'll cover all those costs, you don't have to do trips anymore, you don't have. Those things don't relate together in the same way, because the whole point of service at the association is the interaction between state and national for the issues that affect us as an industry. If we're not doing that, how long do you think it will take before they wipe real estate agents off the face of the map like travel agents, right? So the whole point is, I understand that it's a burden, that you're going to incur that $40 a year, but I guarantee you, you're going to see way more value that's going to come from Brandon and his group and his board for the money that you're investing. And since it's been 27 years, just think that you're paying it forward, right? Anything else you want to add to that, Mr. President?
Yeah, that's actually a gift from Tom on his way out.
Okay, any questions on anything to do with the dues thing that we can answer here? No, great, thanks. We'll move on to the topics we have. That was a presidential moment right there. No, great, thanks. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to?
Okay, I'll do it.
Well, you're gonna do it anyway.
Okay, so first off, Janet wanted to talk about some upcoming events that she has. And Tony took up most of your time, so just talk about one.
Take your time, Janet.
Okay, first of all, I want you guys to know that tomorrow, Brandon, Chris, Tom, myself are leaving town, and we're going to San Diego for the National Association of Realtors Conference. I'm so excited. And we don't come back till the night of the 15th. We will all attempt to respond to texts or emails. However, understand that not only is our whole day planned with mandatory meetings, and unlike these guys, my phone is in my purse and not on when I'm in the meetings.
My phone's not my purse. Call me anytime.
Yeah, call me anytime. Text me anything you want.
It rings every meeting in your purse.
And so if you need immediate help, Todd and Vandana will be here. If you can wait, send us a text and email, and we'll respond when we have.
Listen, you guys,
Yeah.
it's fine that they're going out of town. We don't miss a beat here. We never have. And so if you ever need anything, you can always come through the app. You can always just know that we're available.
And if you want, you can come with me.
Exactly.
I'm not going.
Okay, first thing I want to talk about is Wednesday, November 17th from 11 to 1, right here in the Southwest office, will be our annual Thanksgiving potluck. Now, here's the thing. The company is going to provide the turkey and the ham. It's called Potluck. We'd like you to bring a dish to share, and so that we don't end up with 27 Marie Calendar pies.
That's okay, by the way. I'm okay with that.
There is a sign-up sheet in every office. And if you don't know what you're bringing, that's okay. But please sign up so we know, like, do we have enough paper plates? Do we have enough utensils? Do we have enough chairs out? Please sign up. It's going to be Wednesday, November 17th, 11 to 1, right out here at Southwest. And immediately after that, at the new, I don't know what we're calling it, the West, the Spanish Ridge office, the newest office, Shelly Panzarella is going to be doing a class called, I just forgot, Wheels Up 22. And so please RSVP for that. It's going to be lots of motivational, inspirational, goal-setting, vision boards, food, and a happy hour from 1 to 5 at the new Spanish Ridge office.
1 to 5, that's a hell of an hour.
So, and you may wonder why we have all these social events. Why are you having this? Why are you having that?
Yeah,
It's
why?
because
Because it's really annoying to me.
because you're Mr. Grubb. So, at Signature, we're a family, and we want you to know your family. And there may be somebody in another one of our offices that is going to be your new best friend. You just haven't met them yet because you never go to that office. But we try to get you together so you can know the people that you work with. Okay, the next thing we have, oh, by the way, Shelley's class does cost $25 to cover the materials, but that money will all go to our charitable foundation, Signature Strong. The next thing we have, hey, Thanksgiving, all our offices are closed the 25th and the 26th. Then on the 29th at 10 o'clock, the Spanish Ridge office is going to be decorating for the holidays. We would appreciate anybody to show up, help, hang an ornament, put a tree together, whatever has to be done. Another thing for your calendar, if you've served on a committee this past year at LVR, you are invited to one of the best.
Why don't they just read the newsletter?
Because they don't. Realtors don't read.
Let her finish. Let her finish.
Sorry.
Okay, the Presidential Appreciation Dinner at the Four Seasons, and this is your payment for all your hard work and your volunteerism at the board. The other important thing I want to talk about, December 4th, 9 to 12, that's a Saturday. We're having paper and pancakes, which we've always had at the Summerlin office. This year we're moving it to the Southwest office. And here's what
That's
paper,
here, right?
right here.
Okay.
Here's what paper and pancakes is. So, paper comes from the fact that in the parking lot, we're going to have a shredding truck. And it's a client appreciation event. Invite your clients. Tell them to clean out all those boxes in the garage of papers that they don't want to throw away, but they really don't want in the garage. The shredding truck will be here. Then outside the doors, we're going to have a coffee truck. Then come on in the office, we're going to have Santa Claus for the kids. Now I say Santa Claus for the kids, but the last time we had this, we didn't have one last year for obvious reasons. There were more pictures of realtors on Santa's lap than there were kids.
Or it was Santa surprise.
Oh, Santa loved it. So Santa will be here, and then the pancakes come in. We have a caterer who's a realtor in our company, and she is going to be here in the kitchen cooking pancakes. So your clients can come and meet you, one more contact before the end of the year. They can get rid of their papers, they can get free coffee from the coffee truck, hot chocolate for the kids, have pancakes, and get their picture taken with Santa.
That's a long way of saying.
But we're doing something else new this year because some of our sponsors that have normally sponsored stuff kind of backed out. So we're gonna have like a little vendor table out in the lobby, Christmas arts and crafts, things for sale, and we're charging those people who want to display their wares so we can pay for everything that we have to pay for, like the pancake mix and the syrup and the butter and all of that good
How
stuff.
much are you short, Janet?
Huh?
How much are you short?
$10?
Oh, we figure about 600.
I'll write the check for 600.
Yay, that's from our new president, Brandon.
Yeah.
Now hold on to there a minute.
Wait, I do have some stuff that I need to get rid of.
Okay.
Janet's got stuff in her office we're going to shred and sell.
No, I already got rid of everything that's got to be shredded. Nothing.
Okay.
All right, one more thing. December 7th, the signature holiday party at the Divine Cafe at Springs Reserve from 6 to 10. You must RSVP, and I will tell you this. He who hesitates is lost, because we're not going to be able to fit all of you in the Divine Cafe. So as soon as the list comes out, the invitation, and it says RSVP, RSVP. And one more thing I will say about that, and then I'm through. So there are two thought trains going on. One is, oh, let's have a ugly Christmas party. I'm not on that track. My track is over here where, hey, it's a Christmas party, it's the Divine Spring, we're gonna have karaoke, and let's get dressed up. So,
Hallelujah.
thank you, Anita. So that's kind of, I have some more stuff, one more thing. Week of November 15th, post licensing via Zoom. Please register if you need post licensing. And, oh, one more thing.
Janet.
This is the last thing, I promise. December 10th at 10 o'clock, which is a Friday, at the Spanish Ridge West Office, whatever you want to call it, we're going to have a Christmas potluck brunch, bring a dish, and a white elephant gift exchange. And I know we're inviting everybody. Everybody is welcome. Just please RSVP and let us know if you're coming so we know how much stuff to have. And it will be, every office is invited. And I think, Todd, you're having your own party too. Do you want to talk about that?
No, he doesn't want to talk about it.
I didn't know I was having my own party, but when I do find out about it, I will let you know.
Where's your talk?
Okay, let's move on to the topics.
What was the date for the paper and pancakes?
4th of December.
Saturday.
It's the first Saturday of every December, every year. Except last year. All right, you guys, let's talk about some real stuff. I'm just kidding.
Real
This is all
estate
good
stuff.
stuff. Real estate stuff.
Networking is important.
Networking is very important. Let's talk about some real estate stuff. You guys have, I know you guys all have questions. We get them every day. And one of them that came to me yesterday was in regards to the seller, was in regards to an addendum that showed up. It was actually a counteroffer, and it said, seller reserves the right to cancel if the appraisal is low, okay? Now, our contracts give the seller and the buyer an option to negotiate those terms if the appraisal comes in low. What this says, and I'm being nitpicky about it, and I know I am because that's my job and that's what I do, but if it says that the seller reserves the right to cancel if it's low, it doesn't say that the buyer and seller can negotiate that. It doesn't say that the buyer can, what if the seller just changes their mind, right? I worry that this doesn't allow for some of the other options that are available in the RPA. And so I would prefer just, and these guys might think differently, but I would prefer that we revert back to the language that's actually in the RPA, okay? So if you get anything like that, there's a lot of companies that are doing that now, that they've sort of blanket put out, hey, by the way, if you get, if you get an offer, go ahead and counter back with this language. I'd like you to be a little bit more conscious of it and allow for it to revert back to the RPA. Yes?
Is it coming in on an addendum?
It's a counter. It's a counter.
As a counter?
As a counter, yeah, it's coming back as a counter.
So weird.
You have a comment about
Yeah, my next one is, it goes to the same topic, and it was, I have a seasoned agent, 30 years in the business, that asked me for my duties out so that their client could sign it, right? And I said, that's not required, it hasn't been required in so long that I don't even believe that we're having this conversation.
Oh my God.
And her response was, well, my broker. And so, anyone ever see the movie Waterboy? Right? My mama said, right? And so this is a constant thing that happens in our marketplace, to the same point that Vonda brought, is they hear something that their mama said, and they take it to other people and they take that as the gospel truth, but they never actually read anything of context that says, this is what the contract says. If they went back and read the verbiage that's in the appraisal section, there would be never a need to say, well, if the appraisal comes in low, we'll cancel. It already says what happens, but the fear I have with seeing that is, the good thing about the contract that I actually like, and it was a big argument, was it provides no option for the seller to cancel. The seller can cancel, but they'd have legal issues after it, so of course they could decline to sign, but then the buyer could cause action to happen against them. If you add this verbiage, that means that my buyer's earnest money's in escrow, the buyer's paid for an appraisal, they paid for the home inspection, and God knows what else, and now because the property came in $300 low, the seller now has an out to cancel that the buyer can't stop. And so if that were to continue on, you could see how incurring all of those costs would start to upset some buyers. And so I think the whole point is, before you just send it to your client to sign, like Vonda said, have some interaction and conversation with not only the other agent to understand, why would you ever put this in here? And I guarantee you the first response is, well, my mama said it was a good idea at our last sales meeting. And so please make sure you're cognizant of that and why.
But I think the bigger point here,
No, it's not the bigger point.
the best point here is that if there's stuff that comes back and it seems like, I mean, that right there is pretty bad. But anytime you have anything in additional terms that could affect the contract, you need to question it. You need to call your brokers. You need to ask us to help you through. Call your mama, right? So that we can help you through the process, because this, I mean, it doesn't, on the very, like, just looking at it, seller reserves the right to cancel if appraisal is low, you're thinking, well, it says that in the contract. It's cool, yeah, I get it, right? But it doesn't. It could actually mean that the seller could just cancel because it came in that $300 low. So let's work through that, what the pros and cons are, because that's our job, is to teach, or not teach, but essentially our job is to make sure that we educate our clients on what the pros and cons are of anything that's written in the contract, so that they can make that decision, right? Yes?
What do you think is the hidden intention?
That the seller can cancel.
Yeah, they're protecting
Because
the seller.
They're protecting the seller. They're giving
Yeah,
the
they're
seller an
doing what they're
opportunity to
supposed to do.
cancel.
A way out.
A way out, right?
Some attorney in a class that they had who doesn't actually practice real estate said, well, this could be a good idea.
Right.
And they had a class on it. All I can think of is Colonel Sanders saying, Mom was wrong again. I want to go to a different point on this same thing, and this is one that's come up multiple times this week for me, is that agents have started to write a lot of comments and parts in additional terms for things that they think are good ideas because of some liability somewhere. I really want to urge all of you that before you just start down the road of writing additional terms, that you get a broker's input, because everything that you actually put into the contract that contradicts something else could have legal ramifications that you may not see without a second set of eyes looking at it. And what I mean by that is if you start writing in verbiage about the loan contingency and you alter the loan contingency section, you remember the loan contingency section is about 4 or 5 lines of additional information past the time frame. That's done for the purpose of protection for the buyer and seller on what ifs. And so when you go and alter that, a good attorney is going to argue that you've changed that entire section. And so please be very cognizant of whatever you write in. And Brandon and our attorney Dave and Vanna and the rest of the brokers, we've gone out of our way to actually get wording for you on things like the appraisal additions or occupancy agreements, anything like that. So please, solar panels, please reach out and let us know, and please be cognizant of other agents doing it to you, because it's happening a lot. Anything else on that you want to add?
The word of the day is cognizance. If you haven't caught that yet.
Could be something else. Mama says you're wrong. Okay, this was in Facebook yesterday, and I thought it was one of the coolest things that we've had posted, and it came from Stephen Smith. It was a picture of the Wolf of Wall Street, and it says, the client told me, I know people that charge less, and the response was, funny, I have clients that want to pay more. Right? I mean, that is to me one of the best responses that is subtle but direct to when a client says, I'm asking you for a discount. And it really is the truth. Think of a client that you have right now that absolutely loved the service that you provided. They went on your Zillow page and left a review. They went on your Yelp page and left a review. They went on your Facebook page and left a review and told everyone how amazing you were and referred you people. Would that client pay more for your service? And do you think that's an appropriate response to a seller that says, I know people that charge less? What do you think? Good stuff? Do you think it would go over badly? Do you think they might throw you out and say, well, go find them?
I think it's worth a shot.
Right? I love the way it's phrased out there. So anyway, very good response. Okay, let's talk about commission, because that's fun. We're seeing a trend across the board with builders, and this has been going on for a while, that they literally have taken co-ops down to hardly anything. We had a deal just this last week, $1 million purchase, and it was a total of $3,000 as the commission. So that's a tenth of what I usually would have gotten on the same deal. And sadly, on the same commission, there was a referral fee paid to the agent that referred the buyer. So, and it was I think it was a 30% referral fee. So not only did the agent have to deal with that $3,000 commission, they had to give 900 of it. I can do math in my head, I'm a lender. And they had to give 900 of it to another party, leaving them with $2,100 to then split out against all the services they provided. The whole point about this is that this is the main reason why having a buyer-broker conversation is the most important thing that you can do to protect yourself from the marketplace that we're in. It won't be like this forever, we know that. But if you have the buyer-broker agreement, I'm not saying that you have to force them to pay your commission, I'm saying that you have the option to. You have the option to tell the buyer in advance that you're going to be getting a great deal in this home. We're going to be getting you into a home when everyone else isn't. And you're going to get everything that you want. The only thing I need to let you know is that I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to participate. I'm going to work my butt off To make it happen, I'm gonna be your resource, but I can't do it for free. How long could we sell houses for on $2,100 and make it a sustainable business that's worth having, especially with them raising dues like they are? Right?
And remember that if you have the buyer-broker agreement completed, it becomes your decision,
Yeah.
right? Versus you having to live with whatever you get and be resentful of that transaction or that client, right?
The other thing that's very sad in this is that the transaction fee that we have is per million. And this deal was above $1 million. So that also meant there'd be, because they didn't want to charge the client the transaction fee, so they would incur that as well. And so all I'm saying is be cognizant that every business that's out there has real business costs. They have real things that they incur. And we want to participate in your business with you and support it. But you also have to be cognizant of what's going on so that you can present it to the buyer so that they know what's going on. I'm saying it every time. Okay, anything else on that? You guys have commission ideas? Tom, nuggets?
If you work with buyers and are not using the buyer-broker agreement, you get what you're gonna get. So stop it. Make sure that's a nugget, you get what you're gonna get. Stop it. Use the buyer-broker agreement. Make sure that everybody knows what you're gonna be paid for up front. You know, no longer is the day that we can just hide out behind, oh, the seller pays for it, the seller pays for it, it's free, doesn't cost you anything to work with me. Bull-loney. You like that? Right? I'm getting better. Use the buyer-broker agreement, set the standard up front when you meet with them, set their expectations, and for God's sakes, make money out there instead of being hopeful somebody's willing to pay you something else, a pittance of what's out there. All right?
What was the word I said?
Cognizant.
Okay, I'm not going to use that anymore. Okay, so another question that came in was, I have a listing agreement and I have listing terms in that agreement, additional terms, and I want to change those terms. What do I use?
Wait, say it again there? You were confusing.
Did I write the original agreement?
You're the listing agent. You wrote it.
And it's in the additional terms, so I have to change stuff.
I have stuff that I want to change in the
MLS
listing.
change order.
Anytime you change anything in a listing agreement, it's an MLS change order.
Is that like an
anything?
addendum?
Anything.
Is that an addendum?
Literally anything.
Or you
Like they
count
want to
yourself?
raise your commission by 0.5%. You got to get a change order and put it in a change order.
Under
If
the
that
additional
question comes up all
All
the
the
time, what do I use to change my listing agreement?
The
It's
change.
a change order for everything, anything.
So the reason why is because the change order is signed between who?
The
It's
brokerage
signed
and
between the
the
broker,
seller.
the listing agent, and the seller, not the buyer and seller. And that's where the confusion comes in. People want to change something that's in their listing terms. It's not between the buyer and seller. It's between the broker and the seller. So that's why it's an MLS change order. I really like what you do. Be cognizant of mine. Okay, so let's talk about something that you did today, giving advice to a client that you're not in a transaction with.
Oh, I did that.
Yes, you did.
I didn't do that.
No, you gave them.
I gave,
a
okay,
reason.
so I gave you advice. So, this comes up a lot on lease agreements. I have a buyer and the buyer wants, or I have a buyer that's looking to purchase a home, but they're currently in a lease agreement. How do they get out of it? Okay, that's the question that gets raised all the time. We get asked it quite often, in fact, probably once or twice a week. And the answer to that is, well, first of all, you're not a part of that contract, right? It is between the landlord and the tenant. You need to mosey your way out of that conversation because you could be in trouble for contractual interference. So that's the main thing. You need to consult that client to go consult an attorney and have a conversation with the landlord in whatever order they want to do it. But that's their options, right? We cannot get involved in that transaction. It is between two parties that have nothing to do with us.
Why not? I mean, I know what's going to happen.
But the problem is that if it doesn't happen that way, it's your ass and our liability.
Practicing law.
Huh? And you're practicing law. Yeah.
So you mean that if I give advice and it doesn't go the right way and they get mad at each other and start to sue each other, they're
You
gonna
get in
sue
trouble.
me?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
That's
gonna sue
good.
you and us and everybody. You know who's gonna get a complaint filed against them? You and us. So don't do it.
So I'd like to talk about the Google effect. Anyone here use Google? Right?
Every single day.
Let me tell you, so I remember life a little bit before Google. My wife and I would get into an argument and I could still be right in the morning, but with Google that doesn't happen anymore, right? I would say something about an actor and I bet, oh, that's this person that's in that movie, and my wife's like, no, it's not, it's this person. I'm like, yeah, you can't prove it. And now you can just pick up the phone and literally end the argument, right? And so I believe that there's always a good resource of information, and there's a lot of questions that people ask, and I know, please let your first call to be to us, we want to help you, but sometimes just sitting down and actually putting into the Google search the same question, you'd be amazed at the resources that it provides, and direct resources. Like if you have a tax question, I'm not an accountant, I'm not going to provide you with tax advice, but if you put that same question into Google, they'll actually take you right to the IRS website and pull up the form that shows you the information, and that's now the source of info for that client. And so I literally use the Google effect in my business every day, where I will take a question from a consumer, I will plug it in and see what resources I can provide to them, and then I take that and I put it into a really nice email that says, based on your question, here's the top resource pages I was able to find, hope this answers what you're looking for. Now, did I just take their question and defer it? Maybe, but did I defer it to a better source than me? Absolutely. And if they do their research on those sources, do I have any liability? No, because I'm not the one that said it. So please consider that, when you're looking at these random questions like the one, how does a tenant get out of a lease? If you Google that right now, there's 13 websites and 2 attorneys that pop up at the top of Google that will help you get out of that. And that's a much better resource than it being you and your liability. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, you're doing a great job.
I'm trying hard. Okay.
I don't know why you haven't.
All right, let's talk about due diligence extensions. So you have you represent the seller, and there is a request for repairs that came to you, and the seller is refusing to acknowledge it or do anything of it. Now, the buyer at that point has a couple of options. They can move on with the property in as-is condition. They can put an addendum out to extend due diligence, right, to allow enough time for the RFR, or they can cancel within that due diligence period for any reason at all whatsoever. So there's a few options that they have. If you have an RFR that came to you as a listing agent and you're not getting a response back to the buyer side, then the buyer will have to do something, one of those 3 things, if they want to, if they want those repairs done. So just be aware of that as a listing agent. Don't take this stuff personally, you guys. It's just something that happens. It's part of the transaction. And if you're on the other side as a buyer's agent, you have to remember that if the RFR and the buyer really wants these repairs done, and that RFR doesn't come back with how the seller is going to move on, you got to extend. Now, if there is an RFR that comes back from the seller with their actual response, and the buyer doesn't like it, they get to write another RFR, and you want to extend due diligence on that section as well. So there's a buyer's response to the seller's response to the buyer's request for repairs. Did I confuse the crap out of everybody?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, initially I was confused because I've never heard anybody say RFR.
Request for repairs?
I figured it
That's
out.
the rodeo.
I've never heard anybody say RFR. They always say request for repairs.
The extension if the seller doesn't agree to it.
Correct. So that's the other thing. Is if you request the extension under the buyer's response part and the seller doesn't agree to it, then it's no longer extended, right?
But my mama says.
So let's be clear about this. If you request an extension either of the due diligence, either on an addendum or as part of the repair request, either one, and the seller doesn't respond, your buyer has to do something inside the due diligence period. Just because you sent it over to the other side doesn't give your buyer any more time than what's agreed upon in the contract. You must cancel, you must agree to move on under the terms of they're probably not going to get anything repaired, right? Those are really your 2 options right there. You can move forward or you can cancel. You can send out another repair request, but guys, if they didn't respond to the first one, probably not going to respond to the second one.
What about the third one?
And if they haven't responded to your request for an extension of the due diligence period, guess what? What does no mean in today's contract?
Heck no.
It means no. No answer, no response just means no.
It's a response.
So that is the response. So don't go, oh, well, we sent over an addendum, so we're fine. We'll see what happens. No, that's not the case. You've got to get it canceled or agree to move forward with your client inside the due diligence period.
So there's one extra option, and I've used it, is you can write a what if. You can write an addendum that says, I'm requesting that you extend due diligence 3 days to allow time for us to figure out what these repairs really mean. If buyer, or
That's
excuse
not
me,
the
if
actual
seller,
language, by the way.
I can use whatever I want. If seller does not respond to this request by end of business today, this shall serve as buyer's notice of cancellation solely to protect buyer's earnest money. Now, there's a side effect to that. In this market right now, my buyer had to fight through 15 offers to get their offer accepted, and I've just given the seller an ability to cancel. Do you understand what I did? But the whole point is, Mr. Buyer, you have $10,000 of earnest money on the line. If they don't make these repairs, are you willing to walk away from this transaction? If the answer is yes,
Or take the property as is.
correct. But if the answer is yes, this is my way of responding because it allows me the flexibility to tell the other side and their client, the only reason I'm doing this is because your agent's not responding to me or you're not responding, to protect my earnest money. I don't want to cancel, but this is my out. And it is a way that you can do it to protect that. But again, it's just a communication flaw.
I also want to give kudos to Amy. Amy does all the transactions, transaction coordination for me, for my team. And yesterday I had an RFR issue, request for repairs, Janet. An RFR issue that we sent over all the addendums to the lender. The lender had asked for all the addendums. I was CC'd on everything. The lender then responded back to Amy and said, to her, by the way, alone, removed me out of the conversation and said, can you please send me fully executed copy of the RFR? And Amy then forwarded it to me and said, she removed you from the conversation. How would you like me to respond to this? And I just handled it from there. But the fact that she had enough knowledge to know, we don't send those to the lenders because that could affect the buyer's loan. If they had a copy of the request for repairs that talked about mold, that loan might not have gotten through unless the mold was fixed, right? So you guys need to remember those things as well. And I mean, it's a total testament to Amy. She did an amazing job, and it's because of stuff like that I continue to use her.
Any questions on anything we've talked about so far before we move on to the next one?
Do we have time?
Yes.
Okay.
So this one's a question for Brandon and for Tom, because this is one that we've just gotten recently. So if you guys don't know, Transaction Desk is going away, hasn't left yet. If you have your templates and your old files in there, you should get them out of there. But they brought in a new system, Remind. We demoed Remind, Tom, was it 2 years ago? Yep. Janet, 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. And the reason why Remind was so cool is it's a data aggregate where they just fill every single point of data about a property, and they actually provide sell scores for homes. So they look at a property and say, wow, this person's got a ton of equity. Maybe there was a marriage or death or something that happened in their family, and they'll actually tell you that this property is more likely to sell within a period of time. So that made it a really cool system. Well, as they went through and got bought, and I can't remember who bought them this time, was it California?
No.
Transaction Desk got bought by California? Lone Wolf, okay, Lone Wolf bought them. They now provide a document system. Tell us how that came about and why. It's your time to shine, Star.
Remind was a brainchild of our current president. We looked at Remind and SkySlope as a forms vendor because, as you all know, Transaction Desk sucks. It's glitchy, it's just lousy. And Remind's greatest thing is that instead of having a bunch of counteroffers, you're able to actually change different verbiage in it, and it shows up. So there's just one, we end up with one clean copy instead of the regular RPA and then all the different counteroffers. That's the sales pitch. Will that actually happen? Maybe in 10 years from now when agents understand how to do all that stuff, it'll go that way. But we're creatures of habit, so counteroffers will probably stay.
Wait, let's digest that. So is that live now?
Yes.
Okay, so here's how this would work. This is cutting edge, okay? You write an offer and you put all your terms in the offer, and then you send it to your client for signature and review. And then once that is signed by your client, you can now send that offer to the listing agent for review. The listing agent can decide to either kick it back to you, or they can take their client's counter, whatever the client doesn't like, and they can go into the original RPA. They can pick sections of the RPA such as price, closing date, costs and fees, additional terms, and they can change them. They then go to a red field where they blink red, I guess, or they're bright red, and that shows you as the buyer's agent that these items have been countered by the other party. Now, every time something is changed, all of the parties have to acknowledge it, meaning that the seller would have to initial that section was changed. And then it comes back to you as the buyer's agent with all of the red fields. It's just like English class in high school, right, where the teacher had the big red pen. And then you get to decide with your buyer, are you going to accept the counter changes that were made in the RPA? And then you can go back and change fields, turn them back to green, which will show up as red to the other party. And you can send this back and forth until both parties come to terms. And so the idea behind it, which is kind of intriguing, it would eliminate the need for addendums in that initial purchase. It would eliminate the need, typically, I guess, for counter offers, because you wouldn't be going back and forth. And it would eliminate the issue of not numbering them correctly. You know, you have 6 addendum 1s because none of them were ever executed. We've already had that argument. I'm not going down that road.
Let me have that.
No way. But this would go back and forth, and these parties would initial it until you finally hit a fully executed contract, and it would be done. That's what the new system would allow.
And the one thing I really like about it is the fact, because at first I thought, oh Lord, all these contracts are going to be passed through. Nobody's going to know what's on them because realtors don't read. So you're going to have to go back through that contract. And it all sounds confusing, but I will just say this, that they are conducting classes several times a week on how to do this. And when you sign in to MLS, your message of the day, it will tell you when all the classes are.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please do, Brandon. No, Mr. President.
Okay, so don't freak out on this.
Hire Amy Schulman.
Currently, we have till the end of January before it switches, and we have to use Remind, okay? I just also want you guys to know that we're working with SkySlope currently now as a company, not as a board, as a company, to put all our forms and our form fill in SkySlope, which will make it a lot easier for all of you in the long run too. So you'll not only have Remind, you'll have SkySlope. Now, Remind can work just like Transaction does now. You can fill out the PDFs, you can print them, you can download them, you can email them, and I anticipate most people will operate that way for quite some time. That's why Chris said, 10 years from now, as we change. The other thing is just because an agent sends it over to you that way does not mean you have to respond that way. You can still download the documents, do the counter offers, all that stuff. So your business isn't going to be disrupted a ton unless you really want to try to learn the technology, right? Because in the future, I think it can help. But the other thing, it is live now. If you click on the Remind icon in your single sign-on, on the left side, there's a button that says Docs Plus. You can click on it there, and that's how you access it. And so I encourage you to utilize it, to see it, and stuff like that, and determine. Don't wait till the last day, really. And we don't know when we'll be live with SkySlope either. So there may be some transitional period where you're going to have to use it, and maybe you like it more than you would SkySlope or anything else. We just want to give you a lot of options.
And you have to fill out a template in Remind Docs to be able to get any form versus Transaction Desk. Just get
That was my biggest frustration. Like Transaction Desk, I can just go print down a single thing, not in Remind. You have to create the buyer, the seller, the whole thing. Yeah, so it'll be a little bit of work, but it is a good system, and the technology is going that way, and so we need to embrace it.
So,
Question.
I want to let you know that 25 years ago, it was the way that, not digital, but it was in Florida.
yeah, Florida had it the same way.
They just crossed stuff out of the contract.
Yeah.
Quick question, did I hear you say that the agent initials on a change rather than the client?
No, it's the buyer and seller, but the agent gets the link for it, so it comes back to you.
With a change on it, and then
Yeah.
the buyer, okay.
And I think that's the main reason why the templates have to be completed for you to utilize it, because it has to have everyone's info, and that's how it goes back and forth. Everyone would get the notifications. A couple of questions that came up that are pretty impactful that people need to be cognizant of. Number one, if you don't know, the county and the city of Las Vegas and all of the other municipalities are extremely backlogged with permitting issues. So if you have a client that's purchasing a new home, be under the impression that it may not close on time. I have 4 new homes right now we're in contract on that have no power at all, and they don't know when they'll get them. And of course, you can't live in a house without power, and you can't get the occupancy without it, and so they're just backlogged. The county right now for permits, if you're doing any type of build out or anything like that, it's 6 to 8 weeks in backlog. So just know about that, know that it's happening, and be able to tell your clients. Someone asked me the other day, I have an offer that's accepted with Zillow. Are they going to cancel on me? Right now, as we know, I've not heard of one cancellation in anything that they have in contract. They're just not buying any new properties. But a smart agent would probably be on the lookout and be proactive that it could happen, who knows. But right now, we've not heard of anything where they're canceling. And the opposite has started to happen with the other eye buyers. They've tried to show that they have a lot of financial clout. And so you've seen a lot of articles come out recently about all of the money that's flowing into some of these other groups, just so they can show that you should still trust us. We can make it work, just because the one guy didn't. Last thing that came up was tax time. So right now we're heading into the end of the year. We had a bunch of builders here at the sales meeting that started to talk about the fact that they got to get rid of product. And many of us have seen some great deals happen when the builders are ready to tell their stockholders how much money they made or how much money they lost. And so if you have a buyer that's looking in the new home communities, please be cognizant of that, because I said it one more time. And also for buyers and sellers, tax time is a big deal. A lot of people are going to either want to spend that money in this year, or they're going to want to delay it until next year. And so if you don't have a good rebuttal for how to get around that with your client, I definitely would talk to the broker so that we can help you work through one. Anything we missed?
I was gonna say, because it's tax time, if you've had anybody close this year, send them a copy of the settlement statement so that they have it for their accountant.
Brandon wants to say something.
That's a smart.
Just at the end, I just need 2 minutes at the end.
There you
Okay.
go. We're at the end.
Last thing, we're at the end. The Lbr Stats just came out, and if you don't know, that is a free service to you. If you simply go on your single sign-on, you click on the analytics page, applied analysis analytics, there's 150 slides specific to what's going on in our marketplace that we shared at the general membership meeting. There's the brand new numbers that came out with a really nice printed report that you can then take and provide to your clients while giving credit to Lbr for providing it to you. The median price on their statement was $410,000, so it went up another $3,000 from the 407. So the prices are still climbing. And with that, Brandon, your 2 minutes.
And while he walks to the stage, I just want to say, there will not be a newsletter this week, because I'll be in San Diego in meetings.
So you could,
Oh, you were so full of it, you've never read one.
you can
Mike.
fill that out on the plane.
Yeah.
All right, so I like these meetings because a lot of times these are questions that we see on the Facebook page. How many of you think that the Facebook group is the best place to put a broker question?
Absolutely not.
It's not, okay? The best place is actually to contact the broker. The funny thing is I see a lot of people post on there, is there a broker available? I'm not always monitoring the Facebook group. So the best way to reach out to us is to reach out to a broker directly. Let me ask you a question. How many of you, when you call a broker and get an answer and don't like it, call another one? Happens all the time. All the time. Todd does it.
We love it.
So how many of you use the Signature app? All right. So I'm going to teach you the best way, and this was founded by Tamara. She doesn't even know that I am totally impressed by this. I'm going to teach you the best way to ask a question to the broker. If you take out your phone with the Signature app and open it,
Yes.
right?
We're excited.
It's the broker group.
Everybody has it,
You at home.
except for Mike.
Should be doing
Broker group.
All right, at the end of it, at the bottom of your page, there's a little plus sign. So click on that plus sign. Okay. Click on the plus sign. You can always go back and watch this meeting too. And then the middle one, it says new conversation. Click on new conversation. And at the top, there's one that says create new group conversation. Now I want you to select Tom, Janet, Vandana, Chris, Todd, and myself. All right? And then you're going to click next.
And one random person just upset them.
Right? Then you're going to click next. And then you're going to name the group. And this is what I want you to name the group. Broker, question, and your name. So it would be broker, question, Brandon Roberts for me. Adam Schwartz for him. Okay, we want you to put your name in there so that we don't have a whole bunch of conversations that just say broker questions. Right? We know who it is. Now, when you have a question, you go to that group and you ask it. Every one of us are notified. One of us will reply, maybe two of us. but we all know you got an answer to the question. Does that make sense? We're also all in the loop of what's being said and that type of stuff.
But we have to share different information, opinion.
Well, we're gonna tell you on
No.
that. We're not
That's not
gonna
how we do
reiterate
this.
what was already said. We're just going to provide the only thing we're gonna do different is Tom, this is Todd.
Tom's down there.
If Todd says everything that needed to be said, we're not gonna say anything else because it's perfect, right? But if there's another way of doing it that would help as well, then we'll provide that.
You'll get the multiple
But we're gonna
You'll
make
get the
it,
multiple things.
we concur with his advice.
I barely concur with any of these things anybody else says.
Sometimes we ask Brandon and-
That's what you're almost my first yes.
And we want to stop, we want to avoid that. We want to avoid that because what we're getting is somebody says, well, I like what Brandon said here, but I like what Janet said here, and I like what Vonna said here, so I'll just combine these and then none of it's right.
Look, you guys, the other thing is if we all know what the other is saying, we can all be on the same page and say, hey, that might not be okay, that could cause liability because of da 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 da, right? Tom could say something that I find completely wrong, or I could say something that Todd's like, Vonna, that was stupid, right? He can call me and say this is what happened, and we can have a conversation about
But
it.
that will,
And then we will tell the agent, hey, this is what actually happened.
we'll correct
I
it
like it,
later.
I'm getting all these broker.
The other thing is,
Literally,
don't delete this either. Once we start the chain, don't delete it because now you'll have everything in that same chain of events that you can keep a copy of. And the other thing is, if there's an article that if I can Google it and find you a great article, and I send it to you, it will archive itself forever in that conversation. And so now you're able to build a broker archive of info. It's a good idea too.
Holy moly.
It's good. I'm proud of you guys. You got this part figured out.
My watch is going bananas.
I'm telling you, this will save you a ton of time. The other thing it'll do is when you're texting or calling or emailing, sometimes we're on a plane, we're in a meeting, we're sitting down with another agent, we're doing a sales meeting, whatever. Here, you will get responses and you don't have to worry about Brandon being in a board meeting or whatever.
You're never always
Somebody's
the one.
available, all right? Thomas.
I'm tell them how to download it, because people that don't have it downloaded on their phone.
Yeah.
All right, so well, I'm glad you came today. So way back when we launched this thing about a year ago, you all got emails to do it. So if you don't have it and you haven't seen Kim before you leave, we will resend you the email and help you get set up, okay? But this app, and I'm going to try to share tips and pointers either through Facebook or at the sales meetings on how to utilize this and how to become more effective. But I'm going to tell you, this has really changed things for me and being able to respond and know when something comes through this app, it has to do with signature, and I don't have to wade through the noise of email or anything else. So this is good.
Can I add one thing? So here's the thing that changed for me in the app that I didn't even think about. I used to use WhatsApp. Any of you that had it for my team conversations and all that, I now use this app only. I went on a camping trip with a bunch of folks, to have kind of that fun vacation weekend. And what do you always have on those weekends? Photos and memories and videos. I created this share and I sent it to everyone as clients. All of these people that weren't even realtors, I sent it to them as clients, and I created a conversation with them to interact with them and store all of that stuff in our app. Now the cool thing is, now that I have them in the app, I'm able to actually go and work with them and use them for my personal real estate business, because now I have all their info on my client side. So it's an amazing resource, and I think it was great for that.
And Thomas is using it greatly, so I appreciate it.
Take us out.
With his clients and everything, so. Any questions on that? Okay, so if you haven't been set up on the app, make sure you see Kim or Ashley or somebody and get set up on it so that you can utilize it. All right, with that being said, let's make it a great week.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you can believe it.
All right, so there was also a couple other awards that were handed out this Saturday night. Tom got Hall of Fame for LBR, right? And little Scotch here got Realtor of the Year. So congratulations. So, with that, make it a great week.
All right.